What is going on, people? TripleM back again with another video, and today the round of 16 of the FIFA World Cup officially kicks off. We're finally in the knockout phase of the competition and in the business end of the global spectacle. And honestly, I'm very excited. With the group stages coming to a conclusion, I thought it would be a great opportunity to talk about this World Cup and really dissect how good it's actually been, because I think it's been nothing short of spectacular. The narratives, the story, and there's none better than Japan themselves. They beat Germany in their opening fixture, and a lot of people have their eyebrows raised. A lot of people are very shocked. A lot of people cannot believe it. They then lose to Costa Rica, and it seems like a one-hit wonder, a one-off performance, something that they will reflect on even though they will inevitably go out, and then they pull it back against Spain. They beat the hardest team in the group and the second hardest team in the group, and one of them ends up getting knocked out. Absolutely amazing. You then had Morocco with a huge draw against Croatia, a fantastic defensive performance. They then followed it up with a massive win against Belgium, a team that nobody expected Morocco to beat. And then somehow they continued with this brilliant performance and beat Canada 2-0 in the final game of their group. And on top of that, they finished top of their group. Top of the summit, top of the mountain. They knocked Belgium out virtually, Belgium team that didn't really deserve to go through, and they overperformed, in my humble opinion. They exceeded my expectations, and Morocco have genuinely made me proud. Like, genuinely. I feel like I'm a Moroccan now because I can actually support them going into the round of 16. And the only reason I didn't support them to begin with is because I didn't think they had a chance. I'm just being honest. But they somehow pulled it through. And that's not where it stops. You had Korea, who also did the same thing. They also pulled a massive upset. Now, they didn't win 2 games in their group, but I believe they lost to Ghana 3-2. They drew their first game, and then they beat, who was it? I think it was Portugal. Yeah, it was Portugal. They beat Portugal in their last fixture. Now, I wasn't watching the Portugal game. I was watching Ghana versus Uruguay because I was more interested in that game. But the fact that Korea actually won that game is massive. I don't think anybody expected them to win that game, let alone finish top of their group. And then you had the upsets, the genuine upsets. Germany going out of the FIFA World Cup after losing to Japan, failing to get a win against Spain, and then, well, the win against Costa Rica not really counting for much in terms of getting them out the group. Genuinely heartbreaking. Now, for me personally, I'm not a German fan, so I don't really care to see them go out. It's not like I'm really upset. From a neutral point of view, it's just interesting to see how Hansi Flick has just struggled at this World Cup and how some of these German players are clearly past their best. Like Thomas Müller, Manuel Neuer, and a few others, they're past their best. They need to be moved on. Germany have such a good crop of young players that are exciting and that are genuinely on the cusp of becoming really good players. I won't use the word world-class because it is a bit of a buzzword at this point, but I believe Germany genuinely do have a lot of talent coming through the ranks. Where they've really struggled is finding a goal scorer. They haven't had a goal scorer, I think, since Mario Gomez, like an out-and-out number 9. And they didn't have Timo Werner at this World Cup. Not that he would have helped because he's not really an out-and-out number 9, but, you know, he's their best source of goals, generally speaking, in this team, and he was out for the World Cup. So they really struggled up front. They had to play Kai Havertz at times, Thomas Müller, who I said is past his best, and Germany, they just went up to par. Now, I knew Germany were going to struggle at this World Cup, but I didn't think they were going to get knocked out in the group phases. I thought they were going to make the last 16 and then get knocked out. That was genuinely surprising. Then you had Belgium. As many of you know, Belgium are a team that I'm very fond of, a team that I follow quite regularly. And whenever people ask me which team do you support in tournaments, because South Africa's usually not there, I always generally go with Belgium or Spain, right? Belgium or Spain are the 2 teams I always pick. Belgium were horrendous. The golden generation is officially dead. Now, I didn't expect them to go on to win the World Cup. I think anybody who expected that is very naive. But I did expect them to at least get out of their group, and they didn't. They undeservedly won against Canada. By the way, scam results. Canada should have won that game. They were by far the better team, not even marginally, by far. The disparity between both of those teams was ridiculous. You would think that Canada's actually the second-ranked team in the world, and Belgium is the North American team that's qualifying for their first World Cup in history. But either way, I digress. They then lost to Morocco 2-0, and then they failed to score a goal from open play against Croatia, and were held to a goalless draw. And honestly, they were just underwhelming. And the fact that one of their best players, Kevin De Bruyne, came out in the media and said, word for word verbatim, we are too old to win the FIFA World Cup. That just says it all. The mentality is lacking. Everything was just wrong with Belgium. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, essentially. Then you had Uruguay, who, again, another massive upset, because a lot of people put Uruguay as their dark horse. Now, I personally didn't buy into the hype. I personally thought that Uruguay were going to be terrible. And in fact, in the back of my mind, I wanted to make a World Cup video predicting stuff, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to get embarrassed, so let me keep my predictions to myself. But I should have made it, because I would have genuinely predicted Uruguay to finish outside the group. Outside of the top 2 in their group. I genuinely thought they were going to get knocked out, and I'm not surprised that they got knocked out. Now, when they were 2-0 up against Ghana, I was eating up my words. But the fact that the other game went into the favor of Korea, and the fact that Uruguay had essentially taken off all their best goal scorers in the 75th minute, it meant that there was no way that they could possibly get back into that game unless Ghana gifted them. Now, Ghana, I'm upset for them, because I think they should have gone through. I think Ghana should have genuinely gone through, and they have themselves to blame, because that game was 0-0. They had a penalty. They had everything they needed to go on to the next round. They missed the penalty, and then they just capitulated after that. After Uruguay scored, Ghana were a shadow of themselves. Every player, apart from Kudus and their goalkeeper, was terrible. Genuinely terrible. IU, all of them, man, terrible. They fell apart, and I don't know why. I think it's because they have some sort of mental block, but seeing this man in tears brought me a bit of joy. I'm not going to lie. I'm shameless. I am shameless. I don't like Luis Suarez. I've never liked Luis Suarez. And in fact, it's got nothing to do with his footballing ability. I think he's a brilliant striker. But as a human being, I think he's just terrible. The fact that he's bitten people, the fact that he's a convicted racist, and the fact that he's just a nasty human being in terms of his petulance on the field, you can leave me out of it, mate. I know people love him because of how good he is as a striker, but personally, I'm not that type of person. I'm not just going to like you because of your footballing ability. If you're not a really decent human being, you know, you don't have to be a nice guy, and you don't have to donate to charity and feed half your country, but you at least have to be a decent human being who doesn't bite other human beings and physically assault other human beings needlessly, by the way. And obviously what he did against Ghana in the 2010 World Cup, that was also pretty cold as well. So I've never liked Luis Suarez since then, right? And since everything else he's done. And so to see him in tears brought me a little bit of consolation as somebody who was rooting for Ghana to get through the group stages. But yeah, it's been a really, really interesting World Cup. There's been a roller coaster of genuinely crazy emotions. I mean, there's been so many teams that have done well. I mean, Saudi Arabia getting a massive win against Argentina. Canada playing some genuinely beautiful football. Yes, they finished bottom of their group. Yes, they failed to register a win, but they played well. They played with a bravado and an aura that you wish teams like Germany, teams like Belgium, teams who actually have the talent to close games out, you wish teams like that played like Canada. Imagine if Belgium or Germany or any of the other big nations who went out like Uruguay played like Canada. If they had Canada's mindset, Canada's ethos, imagine the execution and the level of just entertainment they would provide. But they didn't. They sat back, they were pragmatic, they were boring, like many of the teams at the World Cup, and they were knocked out, deservedly. It's very, very interesting. And going into this knockout phase, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next, because I can't predict who's going to win this World Cup. Now, I said Argentina would win, but that prediction is looking a little shady. Now, I'm not going to change it for the sake of just sticking to my prediction, but I would be lying if I said I'm still confident Argentina are going to go all the way, because based on all three of their group games, I don't know. It looks like there's something missing there. They need a little bit of marinade. They need a little bit of barbecue sauce on top of the food to add flavor to their performances. But anyways, let me know what you think of the World Cup so far. It's been your boy TripleM. Leave a like on the video if you want to support the channel. Subscribe if you are new, and leave a comment if you want to. Peace.